A whole load of new information regarding Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis was recently released in the form of the Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis Prologue 1 broadcast. This broadcast confirms a few more of the classes that will be coming to New Genesis, shows off some of the new mechanics that we will see within the game, gives us our first look at how some mechanics from PSO2 will be changing for New Genesis, such as affixing weapons and units, goes over how the open world is going to affect Phantasy Star Online 2 and how you would be playing the game, and shows off some of the changes that they've made for the character creator. The clips playing in the background right now are from the new opening video for New Genesis, which they showed off during the broadcast. You can find the full opening video on the official Phantasy Star Online 2 YouTube channel. First up, let's take a look at how we are going to be logging into Phantasy Star Online 2 once New Genesis is released. Right here you can see that we have a new main menu with an updated interface, and when we go to log in with our character, we have the option of logging straight into PSO2 or New Genesis. Once you're in-game, if you want to swap between PSO2 and New Genesis, you'll have to do that via the block transfer system in PSO2 or the fast travel system in New Genesis. Next, let's take a look at the character creation. The biggest change that you're going to notice is the graphical improvements that we have in New Genesis, especially when it comes to the hair shading on our characters. The process of making a character in the character creator is pretty much the same as it was in PSO2, but with added tools and features to allow us to personalize our characters even more. One of the biggest changes to character creation was the removal of selecting a gender. Instead of selecting a gender, you will now select a body type, and you'll see that some body types are more masculine, whereas other body types are more feminine. In addition to this making the game more inclusive, this could have other effects on the game as well. One thing that this could affect is gender-specific clothing. One of the more frustrating things in PSO2 is when you're playing scratch tickets and you receive items for the opposite gender. This can be even more frustrating if the item that you got from the scratch ticket has a variant for the opposite gender. So by removing genders altogether, this could mean that we won't have to deal with that any longer. The character creator also introduces many new tools and controls that will allow us to customize our facial expressions in a way that we were never able to do in PSO2. Some of these controls include being able to adjust how much your eyes are open or closed. This could allow you to make a character that looks really tired, maybe one that's not exactly sober, or maybe he's got one eye closed and there's a scar over top of it. Another new control that we'll have for our eyes is the ability to choose which direction they are looking. This will allow you to roll your character's eyes backwards, or even roll them forwards so that they're looking at the ground in order to give off the feeling that this character is shy. We'll also be able to make further adjustments to our mouth. This will let us control how much our character is frowning or smiling, and you can actually adjust this for each side of the mouth, which could allow you to make a character that is smirking, or just make a character that looks funny. But either way, I think these controls are really cool, and they'll be fun to play with once the game actually comes out. One more thing I want to look at before we move away from character creation is hair customization. One of the new features they've added to hair customization is the ability to adjust the length of your hair. They said that this is only going to be an option for specific hairstyles, and more specifically, I think this means that this will be an option for most if not all hairstyles in NGS, but probably not an option for older hairstyles from PSO2. Another thing we will be able to do with our hair customization is choose a subcolor if the hairstyle has a secondary color. That's enough talking about the character creation, so let's actually move on to the classes. Previously, we already knew that the Hunter, Ranger, and Force classes would be in New Genesis. In the broadcast, they finally confirmed that we will also be getting the Fighter, Gunner, and Tiger classes as well. Hunter is going to play the way that you would expect, wielding a sword to do massive damage, while also being able to take a hit in the process. The New Genesis iteration of the Hunter looks more fluid and fast-paced compared to that of the PSO2 iteration. The Ranger will wield the assault rifle and will shoot at enemies while attempting to maintain the optimal distance to maximize its damage. They also mentioned how they zoomed the camera in for the Ranger so that it's easier to control and aim the character. The Force is going to be using the Rod to cast a variety of techniques of different element types, allowing them to take advantage of each enemy's elemental weakness. They also showed in a previous video some of the ways that we will be able to use elemental weaknesses, such as exposing extra weak points on the enemies. The Fighter will be using the Knuckles weapon, which will allow them to rapidly hit enemies at close range, while also dodging the enemy's attacks. Some of the Fighter's photon arts have extended range in the event that you need them. The Gunner will be using the twin machine guns and will behave similarly to the way that they behaved in PSO2, allowing them to jump around in mid-air while rapidly dealing damage from range. The Tiger class will be using the Wand to both cast techniques and deal melee damage. After charging a technique, this will actually change the element of the wand, allowing you to take advantage of elemental weaknesses with your melee attacks. So far, I've only mentioned one type of weapon for each class. I believe that in the future classes will gain access to more types of weapons, but this does bring us to the next topic, which is the multi-weapon system. This system will allow you to customize a weapon so that you can use it with your primary class as long as you have the associated subclass equipped. Not only will this allow you to use the weapon with your primary class, but this also brings one of the biggest changes to the game, which is the ability to equip that other weapons, photon arts, and attacks on the same weapon palette as your primary weapon. This will bring a ton of variety to the combat in the game and how we choose to build and select our classes. Next, let's take a look at Central City. This is going to be the hub area for the game, where you'll be able to access your inventory, visiphone, shops, and accept tasks, the NGS equivalent of orders, from NPCs. One of the new places that you'll be able to visit in Central City is the food stand. At the food stand, you'll be able to create a meal by selecting various ingredients from your inventory that contribute to different types of boosts. After creating the meal, you will automatically consume it and gain the boost for a temporary amount of time. The next booth that we're going to look at is where we go to enhance our weapons and units. Enhancing a weapon in New Genesis will be the same process as enhancing a weapon in PSO2. It will require you to select the weapon that you want to enhance, and will also require you to choose weapons that you will destroy in order to add experience to your weapon, and will still require an additional payment of both Maseta and grinders. This broadcast has finally shown us some of the first changes to the augmenting system in New Genesis. The first big change that we can see here is that the presenter's weapons currently say they have 0 out of 2 augments. This appears to imply that in New Genesis, the number of augment slots on a weapon is different from the number of augments on the weapon. This could have a number of implications on how affixing weapons is going to work in New Genesis. In general, I believe that they are taking a new approach to affixing in order to make it more forgiving and likewise more approachable. If this is the case, then one implication this could mean is the inability to downslot a weapon when affixing augments. They did not, however, show an example of failing an affix or attempting to upslot a weapon, so we currently do not have any confirmation on how this is going to work. They did, however, give us footage of them affixing 2 augments to the 2 existing slots on the weapon. In this footage, you'll see that they are actually using capsules to affix these augments onto the weapons. Each duplicate capsule that you add increases the chances of successfully affixing the augment. Since the first capsule that they used added a 10% chance of success for each capsule, and they used 10 capsules, this gave the affix a 100% success rate. The other capsule that they used only had a 9% success rate, so after adding 10 of these, it was only a 90% success rate. The new augmenting system looks really interesting, and I hope that they give us a more in-depth look into affixing in the future. Next, we're going to look at how we will be traversing the open world. First, we have the Photon Dash, and this is basically just sprinting and will allow us to move to our destinations faster. Next, we have Photon Glide. Photon Glide will let us glide through the air in order to traverse large gaps in the environment. Next, we have Wall Kick, which will allow you to travel up steep inclines by running directly into them and automatically jumping up it. They also added the ability to swim in water. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play into the game mechanically, but it is still nice to see that this is in the game. We are also being given a method of fast travel using Ryuker devices. These Ryuker devices are waypoints throughout the map that you need to find in order to unlock the ability to fast travel to. From a Ryuker device, you can teleport to other Ryuker devices, switch to PSO2, or manage your inventory. You may also fast travel to Ryuker devices directly from the world map instead. Besides Ryuker devices, you will also encounter Cocoons around the map. Accessing a cocoon will allow you to enter an instance where you complete various challenges. Some of these instances will require you to complete the challenge solo, whereas some of the instances will allow you to bring a party. Emergencies will be making a return in New Genesis. Here are some of the emergencies that they showed off during the broadcast. This one here shows the party boarding a giant ship in order to attack the weak points on the top of the ship. This other emergency requires you to fight these tall monsters, which can be easily defeated by attacking its legs to make it fall over, and then jumping on its back to finish it off. This emergency right here is also very interesting because although you are fighting normal enemies, there is a lot of verticality to the fight because all of the enemies are on these platforms. Next, we get to talk about another new feature in New Genesis, the Region Mag. The presenters described this as being very similar to how alliance trees work in PSO2. In New Genesis, each region will have a Region Mag. By bringing the mag specific gathering materials, you can unlock boosts in that region for all players on your server. If this does work the same way that an alliance tree works in PSO2, this would mean that by visiting the region mag in a region, you may obtain a temporary buff, where the buff's strength is determined by how many materials the players on the server have brought the mag. They also showed us some footage of an urgent quest in the game, and in order to start an urgent quest in New Genesis, you'll actually have to travel to the location in the world. Once you get to this location, it'll put you in an instance of the urgent quest. The last section I want to go over are the communication features. For the most part, it seems like communication is going to work almost identical to how it works in PSO2. They did, however, mention how they are adding in what they call stamps. And stamps are similar to symbol arts, except stamps will be graphics made by the developers. They also mentioned the possibility of adding in animated stamps in the future. And right here they're showing off some of the new animations for the game and how these poses are able to use finger movement. It should be a lot of fun taking screenshots in New Genesis with these new poses. So these were the major features that I found during the broadcast. I think the features that I'm most excited to see more of are the multi-weapon system, as well as just getting a more in-depth look into how affixing is going to work now. But overall, I think New Genesis is turning out really nicely, and I can't wait to hear more news. That's all I have to say about New Genesis for today, but if you enjoyed my video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, share the video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next video.